Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third installment of the USC Annenberg Distinguished Lecture Series on Latin American Arts and Culture. My name is Monica Alba, and I work for the USC Annenberg Center on Communication, Leadership, and Policy. And it is my honor to be here tonight to introduce what will be an incredible evening for all of you. We have had in the past year here Julieta Venegas, singer and songwriter, and just a few weeks ago at Annenberg we had Manu Chao, which was a real treat. Tonight we have Diego Luna, actor, writer, director, an incredible personality, and I can't wait for all of you to see him here in conversation tonight with Distinguished Professor of Communication, Josh Kuhn, a dear friend and will be a fantastic moderator. So, Josh, take it away.
How's everybody doing? Good? This is going to be a good night. I want to first really just say that it's a great honor to be up here representing this lecture series, which I hope you join me in agreeing is such an important thing, not only for this campus, but for the city of LA. And it's such a pleasure and an honor to have you all here with us. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to first start off with some thank yous to the Mexican American Alumni Association, who helped make this possible. To the Latino Student Assembly of USC. The Latino Student Assembly has been instrumental in doing all their work and getting the word out. El Centro Chicano here on campus, who I got to give a plug. On November 18th at 6 p.m., they're doing the latest installment of what they call Project Remix, which is going to be a really interesting discussion on mixed race identity at the Centro, so make sure to check that out. I want to make sure to thank and make sure we all appreciate all of the work and labor that goes on behind the scenes to make incredible nights like this possible, and there's a lot of work. The entire staff of Spectrum, the entire crew of Bovard who are putting this on tonight, the events and development teams of the Annenberg School, and I really want to give a big special thanks, and I don't know where she's seated, but to the one and only Berenice Gonzalez, who made this event possible tonight working with us. So wherever you are, Berenice, thank you for making this happen. The only thing they have to look forward to is hope. And you have to give them hope. Hope for a better world, hope for a better tomorrow, hope for a better place to come to if the pressures at home are too great. Hope that all will be all right. It is not about personal gain or ego or power, but about the us's out there. Without hope, not only gays, but the blacks, the seniors, the handicapped, the us's will give up. These were words spoken back in the 1970s by Harvey Milk, the first openly gay man to be elected to public office in California. When Milk was sworn in as a California supervisor, he was joined by his date for the night, his Mexican-American boyfriend, who he introduced as my lover, my partner in life, Jack Lira. Lira was a sexual refugee, a sexual migrant. He fled the birth family who beat him because of his sexuality. And he arrived in San Francisco to make himself at home in a new world, where he hoped that he would be accepted for who he was, a gay Mexican-American man. In the 2008 film that brought Harvey Milk's story to mainstream audiences, Lira was played by our guest tonight, a Mexican actor, writer, director, and producer who we might not directly associate with the legacy of Harvey Milk, but is someone who has, little by little, quietly, behind the scenes, been shaping an extraordinary career that more often than not returns, sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly, to telling and dramatizing the stories of all the us's out there. The stories of everyday people finding hope in the face of loss. The stories of traumas, national traumas, personal traumas that are repressed and buried only to be saved by laughter and friendship and family and long nights of partying that lead to even longer mornings of hangovers. Yes, our guest tonight, as so many students, female and male, have reminded me in the past few weeks, may have perhaps most infamously washed up on the shores of Hollywood via Havana Beach Resort, teaching all of us how to, quote, dance like the water, look and feel as natural as the waves. But he is also someone who has spoken very directly and loudly about Mexican political corruption and social crisis, about the murdered women of Juarez, and about the imperative of, in his words, and I quote, giving power to the people to make change through film. The buddy flicks that he's famous for, and perhaps you've seen these, Y tu mamá también, and Rudo y Cursi, defy that genre of the buddy film in unexpected ways, pushing at the limits of male friendship, love, eroticism, and brotherhood. His films about boxing and soccer are really about Mexican national politics, poverty, cultural identity, and the pressures of social limits. He might also hold the distinction of being the only actor in the world who can say he spent an entire feature-length film dressed as a Michael Jackson impersonator in Paris. Our guest tonight is remarkably only 30 years old. He has acted in over 40 films in both Mexico and the United States, produced 15 films, directed 2 feature films and 1 short film, including his latest film, Abel, which racked up 2 major prizes at the San Sebastian Film Festival earlier this year, and was part of an incredible gala screening at the AFI Film Festival last night, and which will open finally here in the US in March of next year. And he also helped to create the first traveling documentary film festival ever in Mexico. He is one of the most beloved Mexican actors of his generation, and along with a crew of his friends and colleagues, is responsible for a new age of Mexican cinema's visibility north of the border, a new awareness that Mexican film is helping to set the pace of global cinema. Our guest tonight, I should tell you, has a 2-year-old who I just had the pleasure of having dinner with, and a 5-month-old at home in Mexico City. So the fact that he has agreed to take time away from his family and his work to be with us tonight is a great honor in more ways than one. So please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Diego Luna.
Wow.
Welcome.
This is amazing. You have no idea. Thank you very much for being here.
Can you guys hear us okay?
Yeah. Hello? Hello?
I think I might need my handheld. If we can do that. It's falling up. My Janet Jackson earpiece
and
is
we're
coming
not going
off.
to dance, no? So
One never knows.
not tonight, I hope.
You never know.
No?
Yeah.
No, my kid is somewhere over there, so I'm definitely not dancing.
Okay.
Don't want him to see that image. Thank you. It's you have no idea how important it is to have these encounters, and it means a lot to me to have the chance to connect with the. Oh, there's my kid. You can hear him. To connect with those that, I mean, we make film for you, and film, it's quite dangerous because you sometimes you're so far away from the audience. You know, that's why I love theater. And having the chance to sit down and talk about film with the real audience is something that we can learn a lot from. So thank you for having me here.
Of course, thank you for being here. So you were here in part, and we were a few of us in the audience last night. Were over at the Grauman's Chinese last night at this incredible screening.
But I said I was at the
Egyptian. You said you were at the Egyptian, but it's okay. You were at, at the Chinese.
And they started to close the. Did you see that?
It's because you said that. I think.
Yeah. I said, "Oh, how do you feel, kids, about being at the Egyptian theater in LA?" And the curtains started to close. But I realized I was at the Chinese. And this morning, my wife reminded me, "Oh, you were at the Chinese." It was
welcome to UCLA. We're really happy to be here. Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here in San Diego. Love San Diego, you know.
Yes, no
idea.
But it really seemed to me last night that you were genuinely moved by that audience and being in that historic venue and being able to show your first directorial feature film in that way.
You know what happened? When we were, the film is called Abel, and it's about a little kid. And the first time I wrote something, the idea was, to me, was fantastic, but it was really tough to make, you know. And then I wrote a script with a fantastic writer called Augusto Mendoza, and I showed the script to my friends, my family, my father, and everyone said, like, "Oh, this is great, it works perfectly, but it should be a book, you know, because this can never be shot." And then we went out and we shot it with a kid, and it happened. I mean, everything. The big problem is that a 10-year-old needs to believe he's an adult and needs to behave like an adult, you know, and that's almost impossible, you know. So, but it happened in the film. There was magic around. I don't know. It happened, and since the first day, the film has been giving us much more than what we expected, you know. And I sent the film to Sundance last year, and I was waiting for the answer, and they accepted the film. And I thought that was the best news I was going to get with my film. And that was just the beginning, you know. It's been a fantastic year. And last night I realized that I'm so lucky, you know, because a film can do well, a film can do great, but being in Sundance, Cannes, San Sebastian, and finish at the Chinese, you know, theater or Egyptian or whatever it was, with that audience, and the theater was packed, and I just felt that I was the luckiest Mexican in California, at least.
Yes, and in fact, well, actually, I would say that there were two Mexicans who were luckier than you. Were the two child actors in the film who made it through customs.
That's true.
There were some problems.
The 10-year-old, and there's a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they're brothers. And they're the stars of the film, but they're non-actors. They've never done anything like theater or, I mean, nothing basically. So they trained a lot for the film, and with the first film they opened in Sundance, and they got a standing ovation when they came on the stage at the very end. Then they went to Cannes in the official selection, and they had a red carpet just 5 minutes before Wall Street, so it was packed, and they all thought, the kids thought they were there from them, you know, and then the AFI, you know. So these little kids, I'm glad the costume guy was so tough on them, you know, because these kids are flying.
Their heads
already,
were getting a little big.
Yeah.
You need to knock them down a little.
Exactly. So they got here and they said, "Oh, we're the actors of a film," and they said, "What?" And no way. And they were traveling just with the mother, so they looked like a family reunion, you know, with the father here. And the film talks about that, in fact. So. But I was lucky they got into town, because when I see the film by myself is one thing, but when I see it with the kid is different. In a way, this film has changed my life, and it's so nice to see how it has changed also the life of this little guy, you know, and how film can affect you is amazing. And it reminds me that what matters is the journey, you know, the journey you go through when you're shooting a film. What happens then with the film is, there's nothing you can do, you know. It's not yours anymore. But the journey is what you keep and what makes you grow. And this journey has been amazing.
We actually have the trailer that maybe we should show so everyone can know what we're talking about.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so let's roll the trailer to Abel.
Mira quién llegó.
Paul.
7 en orientación vocacional. Cecilia, mi desayuno. Esta resta está mal hecha.
Esa es la fecha.
Adiós, papá.
Es la invitación para el Festival del Día del Padre en la escuela de Paul. Ojalá también tú vayas.
Sí voy a ir, hija. ¿Y cómo conoce a mi Selene? No, así no se hacen los hijos. ¿Cómo se hace?
Abel. Abel, soy Anselmo, papá.
¿Quién dejó pasar a este tipo?
¿A qué regresaste? A ver si ya vivías en mi casa, cabrón.
¿Te da miedo? No. ¿Y te ganan nadando?
Abel, tiene que estar ahí donde dices, en el hospital ese de México.
¿Y tiene esposa e hijos? ¿Y les extraña? ¡No soy tu hija! ¡Tú no eres mi papá!
De la Jennifer López. Carísimo.
Hay que trabajar mucho en ese baile.
It's funny when you see a trailer. It's like it tells you the whole film.
It's true. You didn't know
You
this
have
before
you
today?
have to promise me you're gonna go watch it. I mean, I'll probably change it before we open here,
Exactly.
so you have something else to see.
One of the things I thought was there's a lot to talk about in terms of the film, but I mean, one of the things that I thought was very interesting was, and it actually, the trailer ends with this performance of, Macho Man. And a lot of the film struck me, at least, as being about the process of what it means to become a man, and what machismo is. And so he becomes this kind of young macho who battles with the macho of his father. But I was wondering for you, there's also seems to be a critique of that in there somewhere. And I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you thought about the question of the macho, or what it means to be un hombre, that he's trying to be in the film.
I love that it's Macho Man, which is basically... I remember dancing that song in San Francisco when we were shooting Harvey Milk.
Exactly.
Right. And so I love the idea of putting it there, and no one really gets it in Mexico. I guess no one has seen the video,
Right, exactly.
The video clip. But basically But the comment is, the film is about, I mean, now that you know the end, almost, the film is about a little kid that comes back home and doesn't find his father, and one day he decides to become the father, and starts to behave as a grown-up, and believes he's the father of his brother and sister and the husband of his mother. So the comment is not just in the Mexican culture, it's more like a Parenthood comment on, I became a dad when I was writing the script, and I don't know why we chose to leave the responsibility of the education of our kids in the shoulders of the mothers, It's a responsibility that is meant to be shared, and we decided society works that way, that fathers are behaving okay if they provide, I don't know how it is here, but in Mexico, if you get divorced and there is no way to, if you need a judge to tell you what to do, they'll ask the father to give an amount of money and see the kids every 15 days or every week, you know, and that for the state is okay, you know, you're being the father a kid needs. And I believe a kid needs a father every day there. I believe every decision needs to be taken by two. That's the way it should be to me. And the comment in the film is like, definitely, I mean, I grew up in a family where it was just my father. My mother died when I was 2, so he had to play both roles, and he had to work but raise me and help me and be there. But it's not fair, you know. I'm not judging divorce or anything. I'm happy. I mean, people should do whatever they want to do, but it definitely has an impact in who your kids are, you know. And we have to know that you have to live with that responsibility as soon as you become a father. And in Mexico, also because of necessity and because of families looking for an opportunity, and just in order to survive, you have all these broken families where fathers leave to the States, and there's towns with, you know, where you just see little kids and then really old men, and it's women running the show, you know, basically. And so it was a comment. Yeah, we have decided that that's okay. Mm-hmm. We kind of, you know, we accepted that that's okay, and I believe we have to change that in order to give kids the chance to be kids for a long time, you know. Today, I believe we're pushing kids to become adults before they should. Mm-hmm. And it's the news, they relate, at least in Mexico, with issues like poverty, like injustice, like impunity, that violence, and they shouldn't, you know. And it's us that we have to design the reality where they live. We have to be the architects of the life and the path they're gonna walk through, you know. So the film is about that. It's about a mother that fights for the chance to be next to her kid, and for the wound. It talks about the wound that leaves the absence of a father in a house, you know.
And so how much of that story was actually a kind of inversion of your own upbringing?
Definitely most of it. I mean, I decided to change the roles so I wouldn't inherit that much, you know, and I was going to be able to be objective as you can when you're shooting a film. I'm talking about basically who I was as a kid, you know. I mean, I took it to the next level, you know. This is quite, I mean, it's a convention. You have to accept that a kid can become an adult, you know, and that a family could work. Because in a way, he brings balance to this family, you know, for a few days. But for a few days, he's the father this family needs. But I'm definitely talking about who I was as a kid and who I don't want to be as a father, you know, basically.
So you grew up in Mexico City.
I grew up I never really grew up, but I lived as a kid in Mexico City.
Well played, well played. And you were raised by your father early on?
Yeah. Raised by my father and by many. My mother died when I was 2, so, I mean, and please, I never met her, so you don't have to be sad. That's how
we do have the therapy couch here for a reason. Yes,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I'm gonna play it like this because what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I remember. Is that I had like 20 mothers. You know, because every woman that was a friend of my mother, they thought they had the responsibility, you know? So it was like, I remember celebrating Christmas like the 18th, 19th, 20, 21, because each house was organizing a whole ceremony for me and presents and everything. So it was great till I was 12 and I said, no way, I mean, I don't know if I want one mother, I'm definitely don't want 20, you know? Right. I became like a tough teenager and said, send them to hell.
What? But now, your father was already working vaguely in the world of entertainment as a set designer, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And was that a big impact on you growing up?
Yeah, I guess I do. I'm an actor because of that. You know, I'm an actor because I wanted to piss off my dad. He's a set designer, and he's there from beginning to end. You know, actors come for a very short period of time, and they live in this bubble, and it has nothing to do with reality, or with what film is, or we're necessary, but I don't know. Directing was tough. I don't know if I can call myself an actor anymore. But my father always said, please don't be an actor. Be anything you want to be, but don't be an actor. They believe they know so much and they know nothing,
and yet you started acting very early.
That's why. When he said that, I said, oh, okay, but what if I become an actor? And then I started to like it. But also it was a way, like Abel, it was a way to feel part of his world and to feel part of a world of adults, and crazy adults, because they, in theater is where I started. It's like being next to very naughty kids, that are allowed to do anything they want, basically, and they just have to please a director that is sitting there and that is as childish as they are, or even more. So it's an amazing world for a kid. School for me, and I know I shouldn't say this here, but school for me was so boring, because theater was. I had everything I didn't have in my life. I had cousins, brothers, friends, mothers, wives, everything. It's like a big family, and it's a beautiful thing.
And no, it wasn't just theater. And in fact, actually, we have a voice from your past. If we can play this little voice from Diego's past here.
Really?
It's just something we can hear.
Jesus, I'm scared.
Do we have it? Do we have the song?
The song. You gave me the song. Wow.
We do our homework here.
Oh my God, that is. I'm in the chorus over there. No, wow. Why do you have these? Fix it. I thought I bought all of them.
I think we can kill it now.
Yeah.
Yes.
You already killed me.
So what is that from?
Where is that from? Well, I was young and stupid.
Look, I'll tell you this. I couldn't find any images, so you're lucky. It was just the tune.
I'm glad.
Yes.
I'm gonna go for it because this is. I don't know why I did this, but I was so stupid as a kid. So stupid.
It's okay. Just learn to talk about it.
No,
Diego.
this is
learn to talk about it.
It's that's the first soap opera I did, and it was like, if we were in a AA or however you call it, Alcoholics Anonymous thing, I would say that's the day that I opened the door for hell.
Well,
it's the first step I did, and it took me a long time. It took me a long time to be able to close that door and go to do stuff that I feel proud of. But I have to say that everything I've done in my life, even many cheesy things I did in TV, they got me here. I was 12 at that age when I did the first soap opera, and I met what I can call my generation. I didn't have the chance like you had of going to high school, then university, then, I mean, I hope you keep going. For me, I started to work when I was 6, but at 15 I moved to live by my own, and I started not just to work, but to have to pay my life. And it was through soap operas, basically, that I was able to do theater. You know, theater in Mexico doesn't pay you to live. You know, it's something you do for fun. At least the theater we were doing at that time. You know, today there's a chance to make a business, but back then it was just impossible. You know.
So, I mean, to be fair, I didn't just play that to terrorize you, but that,
you did.
You know,
but you did.
But I did. But soap operas
anyone
are,
have
are
like a Paxil or Tafil or something that finishes on eel?
Anything. But they're very important in terms of being kind of industry launching pads for a lot of young actors. I mean, you met also, you know, one of your best friends on that soap opera.
That's the thing, yeah. The feeling of a generation thing of a. You call it generation, mi generación?
Yeah.
Or am I doing a literal translation?
No, that's right.
Yeah. So I met Gael there. I met Osvaldo, Flor Eduarda, Martin, my friends today, you know, and it's weird. It's not like in school where suddenly one of your friends is a dentist, the other is an architect, the other is nothing, the other, no. In this case, they're all actors, and in fact, we till 20-something, we still see each other's faces in the castings, like, oh, you're back here, hey, you bastard, you came here. But it was nice because it helped me to pay the rent and to keep acting and to know today that what I want to do, you know. I believe we've treated the audience for many years as if they were not sophisticated enough, and we lose the audience. I'm talking about Mexico, not here. We lose the audience, you know. Cinema suddenly became a thing of festivals and just a few people that was able to watch it, and it took a lot of effort from us and a lot of finding the way to reconnect with the audience. And I believe TV is one of the big issues, you know. It's definitely, sometimes it's very unrespectful the way we do TV in Mexico. And today there's a reunion happening with the audience. Today we're getting in love with them again, and that's amazing. And at 21 I decided not to do another soap opera. No, I was at 19, and
is the new film you're working on now a kind of kind of parody of this as well?
Yeah. I did a film called The House of My Father, La Casa de Mi Padre, it's a Spanish-speaking film with Will Ferrell, and we play brothers, and he's my old brother, and we play these two characters that they're Mexican, and everything happens in Mexico. And I didn't know Will Ferrell speaks such good Spanish.
Yeah.
You didn't know either, no? Because you didn't know if it was a joke or not. I could tell. But it's the whole tone is in kind of soap opera. And it was so nice to go back there, you know, and laugh about it a little bit, you know. But again, if you keep pushing, I might cry right now.
No more, we're done. So I mean, you grew up at this incredibly complicated and urgent time in Mexican history. Basically a teenager in the 90s, where among a million other social and political crises that are going on, I mean, economic crises, Zapatista revolution, the Salinas administration. I mean, this is an intense time. from Mexico. And I'm just wondering how much of growing up around what was happening impacted the way you thought about acting and your art?
Well, definitely. At the beginning, acting was about being part of the world of my father and being able to stay close to him. But also then acting became the chance to find a point of view and find your reason, to be here. And through acting, I believe the screen is a mirror, and it has to work as a mirror, otherwise has no point of existing. And for me, acting is a chance to get the attention to the things I believe need attention, when I work, but also when I use the microphone, even if it's this fancy little thing. It's about, getting the attention to those issues that matter to you. And I believe at the end, acting is about curiosity, and it's about, this curiosity of knowing where you are and knowing you in relation of something else, And I grew up in a country where we were raised with the word crisis is part of our system, I've been in 2 devaluations, you call them,
Yep.
So whatever I have in my wallet, I know is not real, it can turn into nothing in a second. And I grew up in a country that got used to that, got used to always have an excuse not to make it, But something magical happened, and when I was 20, Tu Mamá También came out, and I flew back from the Venice Film Festival saying, okay, the ride is over, that's it. And I landed in Mexico, and they gave me a call. As soon as I landed, I went to bed I had a girlfriend at the time, and we went to bed, and I was like talking to her and something else and doing and I got a phone call that night. That night, it was 8 a.m. in Venice, it was 2 a.m. in Mexico, and the phone call was Alfonso saying, you won. And I was like, what? Yeah, you won Best Actors. You too. You're sharing the award. And I was like, no way, really? And I remember in that second, it was like, my girlfriend at the time, I'm sure, felt terrible, I felt very guilty later because I so forgot about everything that was happening. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, you want to come? You want to come and pick it up? You have to leave at 8 a.m. in 6 hours. And I said, whoa, yay, And I hung and I packed again, and I got the worst seat on the plane, the one that doesn't go back and it's in between 2 fat guys. That one I got, and I flew back to Venice. And that day I said, whatever is happening to me, it's new, I wasn't ready for this. And I've believed all my life this was not going to happen, And I was raised in a country that showed you that if things were not perfect, it was okay. It was normal. That's the way it is here, And because we have such a reference here with the States, it's always like, this is happening because we're here, Obviously over there, these things don't happen, And suddenly in my life, those things were happening, And I believe I'm part of that generation. And I believe it's not what happened in the 90s. It's what happened in 85. 85, we had an earthquake. And the whole city just collapsed. And there was 2 weeks of just finding dead bodies everywhere, And the whole city, those who stayed alive, basically came out to help. And I believe that earthquake was like kind of a shake we got as a generation, and it has defined us in a, I don't know what it is. Probably it's very stupid what I'm saying, but I have the feeling we realize that life was I mean, so easy to lose, and that it was more about who's next to you, you know, in case you need them or they need you, you know. There was a feeling of connection. And for example, cinema today in Mexico is that. I mean, as soon as I got the award in San Sebastian, I got phone calls from film directors, you know. And I remember in the times of my father, you would get like, fuck you, you steal my prize, you know. And today we're celebrating each other's success, you know. And that talks about a different generation, a generation that is connected and that knows that they're part of something bigger. And then, yeah, the 90s were terrible.
Well, I want to show, we have one clip queued up from that film that I think sums up this conversation a little bit. So if we could roll the Y Toma También clip.
Ah, nice. This one I haven't seen in 10 years, so...
Siéntate.
No mames, pinche cerdo, cabrón. No mames, vete a la verga, cabrón. Uy, pues me amarras por haber pasado de año, cabrón. No mames. No, vete a la verga, cabrón. Mejor te hubiera sido extraordinario. No mames. Ay, ya, güey, ya. No mames. Oye, güey, ¿entonces qué pasó con tu jefe? ¿Se encabronó?
No, no soy cabrón, no, güey. Se superemputó. Dice que si no hago área 3 me puedo ir olvidando de la nave, cabrón.
No mames, si te vas a quedar sin el netísimo murciélago, tú por no querer hacer área 3, chavo, las 3, no mames.
Pues me cagan los economistas, cabrón. Por mí todos esos ojetes se pueden ir a chingar a su pinche madre.
Pues qué pendejo, güey.
Mi madre es, güey. Yo quiero ser escritor, cabrón. Mejor métete conmigo al área 5, güey.
Dime el paso, güey, no mames. Puta madre, pinche tráfico, carajo. Seguro ya anda la necia y la boina se armando otro desmadre en otra puta manifestación, güey.
Están en todo su derecho, echaron las trajes.
A huevo. Yo estoy en mi derecho de mentarles la madre por pasados de verga, cabrón, güey.
Eso sí. Bueno, lo que sí es que luego en las pinches manifestaciones sí hay re buenos conflictos, ¿no, güey?
No te soy bien,
güey. Te pusiste loción, cabrón.
¡Puta madre, pinche cerdo, cabrón! ¡No mames! ¡Güey, ábrele! ¡No, ábrele, güey! ¡Niños putos! ¡Güey, ábrele, cabrón!
Ese mismo día hubo 3 manifestaciones en distintos lugares de la ciudad. Sin embargo, el embotellamiento que los detenía había sido provocado por un peatón atropellado, Marcelino Escutia, un albañil inmigrado de Michoacán. Marcelino fue alcanzado por un pecero que conducía con exceso de velocidad. Nunca usó el puente peatonal más cercano porque su mala ubicación lo hacía caminar 2 kilómetros más a la construcción donde trabajaba. Su cuerpo fue recogido por la Cruz Verde y llevado sin identificación al servicio médico forense. Tardó 4 días en ser reclamado.
Wow.
I mean, that kind of collision, no, between their friendship and all the fun that's happening inside the car.
¿Qué pasó, hijo? ¿Estás bien, mi amor? Ya es hora de dormir. Vamos a hablar bajito. Sorry.
And it's your there's all that sense of freedom in that car of where they're going and heading out of town, that then is cut right next to, you know, a dead migrant on the road and all these demonstrations.
It's definitely how it feels to be in Mexico. You know, there is an aftertaste of, I don't know. I'm 30 years old. I have a company. I've shot. We've done 12 films. I mean, I have freedom. I've done everything I wanted and more, you know, and I connected with those I wanted to. We've built stuff. I have a beautiful family, a house. But I also live in a country where no one reads the newspaper, where what's normal is that kids leave school when they're 12, 13, and they start working, where a big amount of the population leaves to the States to find an opportunity, and they risk their lives no matter what, you know, in order to survive. I also live in a country where, where today it's easier to to become part of the cartels and to work for the drug dealers, you know, to find a chance, you know. I live in a country where it's just a few of us that are lucky to have the opportunities. And that's what that film talks about, you know. Yes, these kids are talking about freedom, where school to go, what they're going to study, and but they live there, you know, and they close the window not just to smell their farts, but because it's the only way to survive there. Right. You know, it's the only way to survive. You protect yourself from what's happening, and that's so wrong, you know. But I mean, it's natural, you know. It's a human thing to do, you know, to build walls to protect yourself from the rest. But I don't know. I believe something is happening in Mexico. We can just compare what's happening today to the Mexican Revolution that happens 100 years ago. You know, the amount of violence and blood, and it's awful what we're living today. And I believe something's going to happen. You know, I believe this can't just go on and on and on. You know, something is going to happen, and those who hate to face it, they're going to have to face it. And
that also needs to be a realization on both sides of the border, right? I mean, that's a realization that has to happen in Mexico, and one that also has to happen in the United States.
Definitely. I mean, the theme of drug dealing, and obviously there's a market, and if there's a market, there's going to be, right, the mess is going to be there, you know. And but I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about, yeah, knowing that you have to behave knowing everything you do affects the guy who's next to you. Mm-hmm. And in politics in Mexico, they all work for the 6 years they're going to be there. You know, no one is really thinking in the future. No one is really thinking in kids. No one is really investing in education, you know. They don't believe culture, I mean, the cultural politics should be dreamed as a necessity and not a luxury. Until that moment, we're never going to have a country that builds things, that gives you the chance. You know, there's a lot of talent in Mexico, but there's no infrastructure for that talent to really explode, you know. And I believe cinema can help. I truly believe that cinema, again, can work as a mirror where we see each other's faces and we say, damn, I don't want to look like that. Or probably I cannot save myself, but I'm definitely not letting my kid look like that. You know, so.
I mean, you've obviously, so many of your films have dealt with this question in terms of Mexican identity and Mexican national culture, but you've also, especially around 2000, started doing a lot of films that were non-Mexican films, specifically U.S. films. Films like Before Night Falls, Frida, The Dirty Dancing, which we talked about.
Sorry?
Which I say, in 2004, though, you did 3, Dirty Dancing, Terminal, and Criminal.
Shit, you said it too fast.
I'm leading somewhere. Which is the 2007, which I hope is a film that you don't cough at, because I thought it was a really wonderful film called Mr. Lonely.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm guessing a lot of people haven't seen in here.
No.
And I want to show a clip for that in a sec, but I want to read the opening. The opening to this film is beautiful. And it's you doing the voiceover. And you say this. I don't know, maybe you know this by heart, and you can do it.
No.
I don't know, I can't do it with your gravitas.
No, don't worry.
I don't know if you know what it's like to want to be someone else, to not want to look the way you look, to hate your own face and go completely unnoticed. I have always wanted to be someone else. I have never felt comfortable the way I am. It is out there waiting for us, inviting us to change. It is time to become who we are not, to change our face and become who we want to be. I think the world is a better place that way. And it's a film in which you play a Michael Jackson impersonator. And I want to show a clip from Mr. Lonely and have us talk about it for a sec.
Okay. There you go, come on. On y va. Now I want you to sing with me, okay? Do the moon avec moi. You know that? Yeah, you know that. Can I kiss you? Can I kiss you? Music! Okay, keep going. You know something? If you want, you can live forever. Not because you're old you have to die. Who says that that's not true? We can live forever. Yeah, let's be children forever. Let's be the age we want to be. How old do you want to be? You want to be 8, 9? Let's be children forever. You can live forever. And you too. And you, and you, and you. We can all live forever here. Hey, folks. We have a beautiful Marilyn Monroe in here. Come on, let's welcome Marilyn Monroe. You can live forever, and you can live forever, and you, and you, and you, and you. I want you to live forever, and you, and you, and you, and you too. Don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. Live forever. Wow.
Incredible.
That's that was quite a. I have to say I reconnect with the actor I wanted to be through this film. I was after the year you you described. I was so pissed off with life and everything, and with this film I decided, yeah, I'm ready to be an actor again. You know, that's acting is like that. It never ends. You know, it's a process that lasts till the day you die or you decide not to act anymore. And with this film, we basically became the characters. You know, and it was the first time I approached a job like that. I trained, and I was supposed to be a shitty impersonator, you know, a guy that could not make a living. But then one day he finds Marilyn Monroe, and she invites him to live in a commune that is in Scotland, where there's just impersonators. And so they moved to this place, and it's a house in the middle, a castle in the middle of nowhere, where there's everyone, you know. There's Abraham Lincoln, there's Buckwheat, there's, who's there, Madonna, Charles Chaplin, and they're all building a theater. And I thought it was a great idea, you know, this world that pushes you to be who you don't want to be, you know. And I just can think of how many people work in the job they don't want to work with, or how many people wake up next to the guy or the woman that they don't remember why they're married, but you know they're there and that's it. And it has to be like that because it's how afraid we are for change, you know. And I believe that's a great comment today, where and this is going to sound very black and white, but in a way the system needs you to play a role, you know. And many have accepted to play the role without asking themselves if they're happy to be there. And I believe we should ask ourselves that question every morning. And if we're not there, we have to change.
and also though be able to be free to change. I mean, this is something where that care. I mean, I think this is a theme that actually runs through a number of the films that you've either helmed or that you're in, and certainly the connection between this film in 2007 and Milk in 2008 in some ways. I mean, that opening monologue could have been, in a way, the ending Harvey Milk speech about being able to be free to be the you that you want to be. And I'm just wondering if you could. I mean, Milk was such an important film in the States, but your character in particular, I think, was so important. Being able to play a character who was not only a gay character, but a gay Mexican-American character. Which
I love that, because the only thing he was gay.
Right.
You cannot use this. Right. He was, I mean, he was...
No, I was putting them around only.
Only.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it stayed too long there, and I was like, no.
Bye.
Gay he was, I'm sure. But it's, imagine that in the 70s.
Right.
I mean, it's like the jokes, no? Like to be not just gay, but Mexican in the States. Fuck. And he, I have to say that Jack Lira, it was a really tough character to play. And I feel really proud of what we did, and I feel really proud of... I had many of my friends came to me saying, I cannot tell you I'm happy, or I liked your film, or I liked you in the film. I hated you. I hate you. And that's everything people said to me about Jack Lira. Every person that met Jack Lira said something like that, you know. But one that I truly believe is I'm not telling you because he's alive, and obviously I'm not saying it, but he is the guy that really loved Harvey, and he would tell you, no, you know what, he was a cool guy. I mean, he was exactly what Harvey needed at the time. And I believe that's a story of a true hero, you know. And I'm not talking about Jack Lira, I'm talking about Harvey Milk. The way he managed to convince everyone, you know. It's the only weapon he had, it was a big smile, you know, and confidence, you know. He never stopped. He was committed. He knew what he wanted. And he knew that if he wouldn't get that, there was no reason to do anything else, you know, because it was the necessity of feeling that you can be yourself. And it's a story that we so need today.
Yeah.
We so need that today. Because now today there's the opposite now. There's internet and this whole thing of creating your personality on the net and saying, oh, I'm this, and my biography is this, and my picture is this, and I like this music, and we've built characters around ourselves, and it's quite scary, you know. It's quite scary what's happening, how far we are from being who we want to be and who we are, you know.
And I don't know if you followed the news here in the States over the past few weeks, but the rising number of teen suicides that have happened, of gay teenagers who've been forced to, or have been outed and bullied. And so instead of revealing who they are and being proud of who they are, they actually killed themselves. And a film like Milk, I think, resonates so much with things that we still need to be talking about.
Yeah, definitely. And that if you're feeling something, probably someone out there is feeling it too, you know. And that's we tend to live life like if it was just everything against us, you know. And no, I mean, everything can be shared, you know. And we have to get out and find who's out there that thinks the way we do, and we have to connect. You know, I believe there's so many tools now to connect that we're not really connecting. You know, connect is about really having the chance. I mean, how many times a day you say, "Hey, how are you?" You don't mean how are you. You don't want to hear. What if the guy in front really tells you how he is? Fuck. You know, if I would stay home, you know. We're not willing to hear how the other person is. And I'm not saying let's go let's become. I'm just saying, let's be open, you know, and I also think things should be. I mean, things are easier than what we think. Like becoming a father, to me, is exactly the best example of that. Something I always thought it was so complicated and so weird. And imagine he has to wake up for someone else, and oh my God, no, he has to feed someone else. You go in an airplane and they say, "Oh, put yours and then save the life of the kid," and I'm like, why would I have to think about this every time I get into a plane? No, and then you have a kid, and it's so easy. Mm-hmm. It's so easy. Just about being, you know, it's almost your instincts always save you, and life should be like that, I believe.
One of the things that, in watching your role in Milk and also Mr. Lonely, and actually in many of your films, you've shown a willingness to portray characters that defy maybe traditional or common expectations of what masculinity should be. And I think it's something that you should be really praised for. I mean, you repeatedly take on roles that push the audience to think about questions of sexuality and kind of normal sexual identity. And you reject those in a lot of the roles. And I'm just wondering, is that something that you actually think about in choosing these roles? Is it something that's important to you?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's something that matters. Hello? Is that? That was very subtle.
I think they're telling us to stop talking.
That was very subtle. 4 guys saying, "No gay talk, no gay talk." No. It was just a coincidence, you know. You just made the sign when he asked me this. It was so politically incorrect. No, it's definitely something that, at least in the country I live in, it's very difficult, you know, for society to understand and accept. And we're still, I mean, well, not just in Mexico, here. I mean, Milk was coming out, and there was this whole proposition number, whatever, about the marriage of, you know, the gay marriage. And it's such a stupid debate, you know. We should be talking about why we're killing people, why education is not the center of every politics of every country, and we spend time, you know, dealing with this. Makes really no sense. Yeah. There's no respect at all, and we have to learn to not just to respect, but to understand that someone can have a different opinion than us, and that we have to celebrate that. We have to celebrate we're different, you know. Otherwise, we would be ants, you know, just moving all non-stop to the same. I mean, we're different, and that's so beautiful. And in a way, I like every time I cross the border, for example, I definitely those guys make me feel different. You know, yeah, I'm definitely not part of the families, and it's something that lasts just for while you're in the queue and you show your passport, put your fingers, take your picture, and write you have nothing to do with terrorism. And but why we have built so many boundaries and frontiers, and like everyone is so pissed off in Mexico of how they treat us in the border, you know, and no one has stopped to think how they treat the guys from Central America that cross Mexico to get to the border, you know, and we're happy to say, oh, we've been punished for who we are, but we're always punishing the one behind, you know, and it never stops. So I love with film to raise that questions and to talk about how easy for me, in fact, is to play a guy that is so different from me, you know, because it's all about understanding. It's all about allowing someone to be different and allowing, you don't have to understand everything, you just have to accept it. So, not understanding, accepting, you know. And I like as an actor to do that effort, you know, because I love when they, with Y Tu Mamá También, for example, I was quite famous then, you know, by TV and other stuff, and people would go to me like, oh, really nice, and hug you, and then I kissed my best friend in a film, and they were like, oh, hey, you, how are you? So, yeah, you still want to, I mean, you're going to keep acting and doing the stuff you do, you know, and I love that they would change like that for a role, you know, even knowing that I'm just acting. But I believe in a way it's a step we should all make, you know, never losing that curiosity for those who are different, you know.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to open it up for some questions from the audience now.
Nice.
Get some other voices up in here.
Oh, so maybe this guy wanted to ask something.
Oh, he wanted to ask a question, a burning question.
I mean, that's why he's behind you, because you're never going to be able to have the image we had.
Exactly. We've got microphones down here in the front, and I believe up on the balcony as well.
Do you mind, in the meantime, if I take you a picture? So now that you have light on. And this is not an ad of, in fact.
And Diego's not on Twitter. You're not on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter, but I promise not to tweet this until you sign a release. No, but it's like I want my wife to believe where we were. Beautiful. Hola.
Buenas
Hello.
noches.
Buenas noches.
Es un placer que estés aquí. I would like to ask, you know, you talk a lot about Mexico and how it's so different from, you know, the U.S. and how you still live there. What keeps you there? A lot of actors or artists, singers, as soon as they become famous and they have their breakthrough in the United States, then they just move there because it's better. But what's your connection with, you know, Mexico City? What keeps you there, other than your family, you know?
I have to say, I work a lot. I mean, I work a lot out of Mexico, so that gets me to really miss not just my family, but it's the place where I got in love for the first time, where I decided to be an actor, where I kicked the ball for the first time, where I kissed for the first time, where I did all the other stuff I cannot say for the first time. So every time I go into this process, I mean, loneliness is really tough, and in this job, you have these many families you build, but then you have to learn to attach, but then attach or disattach, how do you say?
Detach.
Detach. So to detach to people that you suddenly share so much with, and there's always a feeling of wanting to go back home and, you know, hugging that tree that you know and seeing your friends. But I have to say that in California, I found a way not to miss it so much. So, like my kid, my kid is a gringo. Jerónimo was born here, and I was working here in a film, and he was born in LA. There's a film, no? A Cheech and Chong film called Born in LA.
Yeah, born in East LA. Yeah.
Born in East LA. No, he wasn't born. Was born in the West, but we went to celebrate on the East. And I spend days here feeling I'm not here, which is a really nice thing on a way, you know, because it's quite amazing to see all these. I mean, what does there's now with the Bicentenario in Mexico, many radio stations and TV stations asking people, what is to be a Mexican? How does it feel to be a Mexican? And today, I mean, there's so many Mexicans, you know, there's so many ways to be Mexican. And there's even Mexicans that don't speak Spanish. There's Mexicans that don't know. There's so many Mexicans out of Mexico. It's so weird what it is to be Mexican. It's becoming, and that's because of the reality we're living in and the country we live in, that it is not a country that hugs you and helps you to stay and pampers you. Now to be Mexican is basically to be brave, you know, and ¿cómo se dice? Be terco. Stubborn. You know, you can see a Mexican if they're stubborn, yeah, because being Mexican is, yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to describe what it is to be Mexican, but definitely in the state, if I'm in the States, California is a place where I can be Mexican.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Right here in the front.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Well, you talk about family a lot, and it's very obvious that family is really important to you, as it is to a lot of Mexicans. I think that's the center of the culture. You have a 2-year-old son. Would you want your son to continue to follow your steps or to do what his dad does, or would you like him to leave that completely behind and be whoever he wants to be, or what is your ideal life for your son?
He still doesn't speak English, so I'm gonna say that I don't want him to be an actor. I hope he's not an actor. But I don't know. I see it differently. I hope he gets the chance to live in a place where he can choose who he want to be. It's more about that than anything else. It's more about, I'm not worried about him, I'm worried about everything that is around him. But obviously, the other thing I want him is to be able to not to make that choice too soon, you know, to be the kid he needs to be till the moment he needs to be a kid, you know. And I work every day to give him the chance to be a kid as long as he needs to. Then he can be an actor or whatever he wants to be, and I'll be happy. But I was kind of living the life of an adult too soon, and that's not fair, you know. And that's a good thing of life, you know. You can fix it on the way, you know. Probably you didn't have it, but you'll make sure yours has it.
We're going to go up to the balcony. Anyone up there at the mics up there?
Buenas noches.
Hola, buenas noches.
Buenas noches otra vez. Well, I just wanted to ask you a question in relation to, you kind of alluded already to this, like, in a way, platonic kind of love for the culture of being Mexican, what it is to be Mexican. As a Mexican myself, I'm from a different generation than you and now live in the States, and I can definitely identify with that longingness and love of wanting to go back. And what I wanted to ask you is, you say that in your generation there was some sort of change of mentality in which people started to wake up and realize, you know, like you do through film, the social disparities of not only economic and political unrest. And, you know, being here as a Mexican here, it's really easy to observe that. So I guess my question is, from your generation on, has there been any progress or any strong force in that movement of conscious change, not only political but social? And if there's anything that you see that will transgress that, you know, I guess like you could say, you would like for people to see in future generations to continue acting, what would that be?
Wow.
Sorry, it's kind of a long question.
Suerte, eh?
That was... There is... And I mean, I'm going to ask you to do one thing. Now try to talk to a 3-year-old and tell me that question like in a
I'm sorry.
In a short sentence, because I got lost in the moment where you were describing who you are, and I was like, oh, she's... And then when you got to the question, I was not hearing you anymore. Sorry. But,
no, sorry about that. I apologize. I guess what I'm trying to say, I've been out of the country for a long, long time, and clearly it's been different generations, and I haven't been able to see that social change that you're talking about, primarily, like, So what I'm saying is that, have you observed anything, and do you see a progress in younger generations moving into?
Well, I'm going to say something very simple. Now, sorry to interrupt you, but now I remember your question, and I was kind of there. But I would tell you that this is the second government. We had the same party in Mexico for 70 years, which is called el PRI, Partido de la Revolución Institucional, Institutional Revolution Party. And these guys got there after the Mexican Revolution, after a huge amount of blood was, of violence, of killing happened in our country, and then these guys got into power. And what happened is they stayed 70 years there, which was basically, like a dictatorship, And then there was an election in 88, where Salinas became the president, and it was quite obvious that he didn't win the election. It was quite obvious. We saw many scams on TV, happening, and nothing really happened, Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas went out and walked in the streets with everyone and complained, but nothing really happened, and Salinas was the president. Then Cedillo was the president, and then suddenly something changed. And there was an election, and people went out and voted, and we got a president from a different party. I cannot tell you, well, I can tell you, but probably I won't do it because I have a microphone on, if it was better or worse, but it was different at least. It was definitely society saying, hey, we're here, and we're not going to go through this again. And I'm part of that generation. And the last election, the country was divided in two, and it was quite obvious there was a debate happening, and there was two very different postures, and that tells you that the country is alive, that the country, the people in the country is trying to recover, regain, what we thought it was lost. There was the chance to choose, and I believe Mexico is like a teenager, it's a country that is a teenager, still finding out, what he wants to be, who he wants to be, and what he likes, what he doesn't, sometimes he goes gay, sometimes he goes straight, and it's like, he's in that search. And I'm part of that country, that teenager country, and I'm happy because there's hope. When you're young, there's always hope.
Thank you.
So we have time for one last final question. We'll go right here in the front.
Thank you.
Diego, bienvenido.
Gracias. One last question, and everyone else that was.
I got the sign.
Sorry,
Is there any wiggle room? Can we get some more questions in?
Even my kid is awake. He's 2 years old. That means we at least two, no? 3? One-on-one? Come on.
Oh, you're looking at me. I'm not the boss here. Sure.
You're not the boss? I'll make short answers, I promise.
Diego, una de mis preguntas, one of my concerns is el papel de la mujer en el cine, the role of women in Mexican cinema. Obviously seems to be very limited. Also, too, it seems that film, the way you're speaking of film, seems to be a transferring, a proximity between the audience and between the film. It seems that you want the character also to be able to transfer feelings. Hopefully, it can make some change. Also, I want to know about your el cine ambulante. How's that coming along? How is it effective? What do you see some of the push and pull factors? Is it helping to take it in maybe rural communities? Is it making a difference? Is it hard? I mean, those are some of the questions that I'm running. And also, how about Latin America cinema?
No, but we said three different guys making the question, or women making the question.
Yeah, I do want to take the opportunity because I think it's important, Diego. el cine latinoamericano hoy versus Hollywood. You know, you have Mexican theaters, 14 out of 14 theaters have all U.S. Hollywood films. Where's the space for Mexican cinema?
I'm gonna try to be really short so we get someone else's question. But basically, I think film shouldn't have a passport. You know, we shouldn't talk about Latin American films, or we should just talk about film, period. And I do film, and I want to compare myself with filmmakers in the world, not filmmakers that grew up in the same context I grew up in. Today, and I would ask you to never again say Hollywood as a bad thing. You know, I believe there's so many filmmakers in the States that are going through the same things that Latin American films are going through. You know, and like Mr. Lonely, you just saw, he's a guy from Nashville, and he's a fantastic director. He's, I believe, a genius, and he doesn't have a chance to show his films in big theaters, or the chains would never play his films. I wanna. There's so much I can relate to in the States, you know. There's Darren Aronofsky, the Coen brothers, the Alfonso, El Negro. I think you're talking about studio films, and that's something that happens almost everywhere, you know. And we should look at what the French have done, you know. French, they know how to protect their culture. Sometimes they're too protective. But with cinema, it has worked. There's always a French film to go watch, no matter what big film is out. And probably the number 1 or number 2 is always French, but it's not just here, you know. It's the way things have turned today. For us, it's tough to get people to watch our films in the cinemas. No, we get to the people in DVD or through internet, or even worse, through YouTube, you know, that looks always like shit, and there's no way to, I mean, why you hire a DP that you pay so much money if they're gonna watch it in YouTube? It makes no sense, but it's the way they're watching our films. So we have to rethink our position there. But it's not by segregating us. It's not by saying, oh, they're against us, because there's so many struggling with the same issues here. And we tend to say they're from Hollywood, or they're from this big monster that is eating us, and they're not. That wasn't short.
That was very good attempt.
Sorry. And then the Ambulante it's the way we are fighting that. Ambulante is a film festival that spends a week in each city, goes to 15 cities in Mexico, and shows just documentaries. It all started from us feeling part of the audience, you know, and we as audience want those films to be in the cinemas. And in Mexico, there's no room for documentaries in commercial cinemas. And we're building an audience, and we're showing everyone, every distributor and every exhibitor, that there's an audience. The festival, the first year, I mean, till today, we're gonna go for the 6th year. It grew 480% in terms of an audience. So definitely there's an audience there that hasn't been reached, and the day we reach it, it can also be a business. Today, obviously, it's not a business, but one day can be. And I also think we do in Mexico at least much better documentaries than fiction films, you know. And there's a voice there. And documentary it's a weapon, you know. It's a tool for change, I believe. So we're hoping one day documentaries become part of the things you do every weekend, you know. Go watch Sylvester Stallone or that documentary. I don't know. Well, let's go see the documentary. We hope one day the audience has that chance in Mexico.
Thank you. Okay. Pushing the boundaries, yes.
Pushing the boundaries.
Thanks.
The light turns there.
Y tu mamá también is about a lot of things, and sort of most obviously it's got some very powerful comments about sexuality. I wonder if it's not also about class, and I wondered how you saw that, how you saw the relationship of these two characters from two different classes.
Definitely, the class issue is something that it's the biggest issue we have in Mexico, I believe, and again, it all comes from that. There's just a few of us that have the chance, you know, and obviously there's, I mean, you cannot wear a very expensive watch and drive a very expensive car in Mexico without raising a lot of envy and a lot of jealousy, and we play that game really badly, you know, and that film is about that, definitely. And it's really sad, you know, it's really, really sad. You know, there is this thing of racial and class issue that again doesn't help to connect, you know. There's people always, you have the feeling you have to defend yourself as soon as you meet someone else, you know, because you don't know, I mean, who's more powerful. And like, I mean, the other day someone said to me, jail in Mexico is packed of very stupid people or very poor people, but not many are guilty. You know? Those, the real guilty ones are not there. I think that kind of tells you what country we live in.
Diego?
Just the last look.
Last one. Okay.
She's
all
raising
right.
the hand. And they're not gonna.
Do they turn her off?
Courage to do Milk, because
What
that
gave me the
role
courage?
was a really controversial role. And the second question is a little bit silly, but is there any possible way I can take a picture with you?
Physically, I mean, it's quite difficult because you're so far away from me, and the courage, it was the other way around. I mean, first of all, I got a phone call from my agent saying there's a script about the life of Harvey Milk. Gus Van Sant is going to be the director, and I didn't hear anything after that, you know. I was like, what? Oh my God. And I started like, Gus Van Sant, he's such a good director. And then I said, let me do anything it needs to be done. And she said, well, he likes you a lot, but he's not sure, so he wants to meet you. So I flew the next morning, and I sat down in front of him, and he was the right person to tell the story, you know. It meant so much to him, to the writer, to the producers, and it became a need, you know. It was something that obviously was going to get the best around, because it's a great story and a great director, and not just a great story, but a story that needed to be heard, you know. A story that we need as audiences, you know, because we just, today, I mean, there's no way to feel we can become heroes, you know, and that story reminded you can be a hero any day, just if you choose to be one, you know, you can do better, you can always change the world, it's in your hands, and with that story, I believe, this whole thing of empowering, you know, that you hear in every convention and everything that is about, you know, I don't know, the TED and the this and everyone talks about empowering, and as if it was a very weird concept. And this guy tells you, no, it's so easy. What you want to do in life, go do it, be happy, and then you'll probably be making a change, you know. The story of Harvey Milk got the Best Actor who I believe is Sean Penn, the best director to put together the project, the best team around them, the best everything, you know. It was easy. It was so easy to say, I'll do it, you know. What was really tough was to get the wig on, you know, because it looked so awful. And I remember, I mean, you have to love your character, and I remember looking at the mirror and saying, oh no, why someone would do this? But it looked exactly like the picture. So that was my reward.
Diego, thank you so much for being here tonight
with
us. And thank you to all of you for being here with us.
Thank you. Hey, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, really. This was really nice, really, really nice. And please go watch Abel next year. Ciao.